Okay, week 4 fly, the Hatchmaster. And so we're just gonna hop right into it. Got the hook in the vise. I'm gonna start my thread right behind the eye, and I'm gonna move my thread back about 2.5, 3 eye lengths. Nothing crazy, not even to the point, because again, we're just tying in our body / tail, and then doing some hackle, just building a little base so that everything wants to stay where I put it. So once we get our thread started, we are going to tie in what's going to be our tail and our body, and that is done with a mallard flank feather. Now to prep these, we're going to take all this fluff off. I'm just going to pinch, and I'm going to peel down what I don't want, just to make it a little easier to work with. And then we're going to take and we're going to separate our tail. And right now, all I want to do is pinch, just like we did with the crayfish claws. I'm going to pinch the tip of the feather, and I'm going to preen these down, and I'm going to try to even these out. And then I'm going to look at what I have selected. And that's the length of our tail. That's what we're setting right now. Roughly on this fly, I want it about the length of the entire hook. So from right at the eye to just past the bend is a good length. At least that's where I'm going to put it today. And so now with the crayfish, we peeled all of this off. We're going to save that. That's going to be our body. So I'm going to preen this down. And you can see that's now our body. So I'm going to turn this over so the curve is facing me. And then I'm going to pinch and hold those fibers right where they are. And right where I'm pinching is where I'm going to come in with a loose wrap or a pinch wrap. I'm going to use a pinch wrap, so I'm going to bring this thread in between my thumb and forefinger, and now I have control over it. I'm going to do a nice loose wrap, 3 wraps. Make sure it's at the length I want, which it is. Make sure it's on top of the hook. Pinch, take a couple more wraps to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. We're going to come in with our scissors on this one. We're going to do it the easy way. And I'm just going to hack all that extra material off because we don't need it. I'm now going to pinch it again just to make sure it doesn't move on me. I'm going to cover that with thread, make sure it stays where we put it. Come back a little bit. And now we're going to tie in our hackles. So I've sized this. I know that I want to cut this hackle right about in the half mark. So I'm going to cut this. We don't need much. We're only going to do anywhere from 5 to 7 wraps. And I'm going to preen these fibers out at the very base. And I'm going to cut these. And I'll show you when I'm done here. I've left some fibers on there for the thread to bite into. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take the dull side. I'm going to face the dull side towards me. So that again, if there's a curve to these fibers, it's going to go forward, simulating legs. I'm going to set this right on the side, capture it, tie it in nice and tight so it doesn't pull out on us. There. I come in with just a little bit of dubbing just to cover my thread. We're going to do a little thorax dub. Again, I mean, barely an inch worth of thread is going to be our dubbing. Very little, small amounts. So we're not doing a whole lot here. I don't want to go right up to the eye. so we can wrap back a little bit. Put a couple wraps in right at the eye for a base for us to tie off our hackles. Grab our hackle pliers, grab the feather, and we're gonna wrap over and away just like our thread. Do 2. We don't have to do touching turns, but we want them pretty close. We want enough hackle that it floats our fly and doesn't sink, but not enough that it falls on its face when we cast it. We get one more. And now to tie this off, I'm going to take my feather straight up and down, take my thread behind it to wrap over it. Do that twice. Still holding this feather, I'm going to wrap a couple times in front. And I should now be able to, if you want to, grab the feather while holding tension on your thread, pluck it out instead of using your scissors, then pull everything back, a couple more good wraps, build a little head, and at this point I'm going to put in a little half hitch just so nothing goes anywhere. Then I'm going to take my whip finish tool and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 turn whip finish. I captured a couple fibers there. It's okay. We'll knock them off with the scissors. Come in nice and tight. Trim our thread. Trim any outliers. I don't like these up here. There we go. Now the only other thing we have to do is trim the tail, which is another tricky part. I'm going to rotate the device so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Adjust the camera here. I'm going to come in, I'm going to put my finger behind the feather. I'm going to rest my scissors on my thumb, which is on the eye of the hook. Put my scissor points around the stem. Do one little clip, and then I can pull that center part out, and we now just created our tails. So that, you can, if you want, again, trim the hackles on the bottom if you want to sit lower. But otherwise, a little bit of head cement, fly's done. That is the Hatchmaster in a gray drake size color. So, all right, we'll see you next week for week 5.